the tiny decisions that broke reality. Most disasters don't begin with explosions. They begin with a thought, small, fragile, unexamined. A spark that never realizes it's about to start a fire. A moment where someone tells themselves, "This is probably fine," right before the universe whispers back, "Absolutely not." This file is dedicated to those moments. The people in these 45 stories were not villains or masterminds. They were ordinary people making ordinary choices in random situations. A shortcut taken without thinking. A tool used the wrong way. A risk miscalculated by someone who thought they were being clever, bold, or efficient. A problem solved with the wrong logic, the wrong object, or the wrong sense of confidence. Their decisions were small. Their consequences were cinematic. Across these cases, documented by local newspapers, police reports, and incident logs, you'll see how quickly life can pivot from normal to absurd. A man uses a blowtorch to kill spiders and burns down his home. A driver tries to vape near a gas pump. A do-it-yourself plumber uses duct tape on a pressurized pipe. Someone microwaves a phone to dry it faster. Another tries to steal gas with a vacuum and learns why physics should not be negotiated with. None of them set out to cause chaos. Chaos simply responded to their invitation. These stories are not warnings, they're mirrors, proof that even the smallest decision made randomly and confidently can flip your life upside down. Welcome to the Absurdist Files, File 010, 45 dumbest decisions people have ever made in random situations, where human logic takes a lunch break and consequences work overtime. Tiny decisions with massive fallout. 1. The man who used a blowtorch to kill spiders and burn down his house. In 2018, a California man spotted a spider infestation in his home and chose the most dramatic solution possible, a blowtorch. Fire crews reported the man attempted to sweep flames across webs, not noticing the flammable materials behind them. The fire quickly spread through the attic and consumed part of the house. He wasn't injured, but his home suffered over $11,000 in damage. Fire officials later commented, "There are safer ways to deal with spiders." The man famously replied that he overestimated his tactical abilities. 2. The guy who tried to microwave his iPhone to dry it faster. A Nebraska college student dropped his iPhone in a sink and, panicking, searched online for quick drying methods. He found a troll post claiming microwaves were the fastest method. He believed it. The moment he turned the microwave on, the battery exploded, cracking the appliance and filling the dorm with smoke. Campus police documented the incident as misuse of electronics. The student admitted he didn't think twice. He was in a hurry. Apple later addressed online rumors warning consumers, do not microwave your phone. Ever. 3. The man who used a vacuum cleaner to steal gasoline. A Kentucky man attempted to siphon gasoline from a vehicle using a household vacuum. The vacuum ignited fumes instantly, causing a small explosion that set his pants on fire. Police and paramedics arrived to find the vacuum melted into the pavement. The man survived with burns. When asked why he used a vacuum, he said it seemed more efficient than sucking manually. The gas tank was unharmed. His dignity was not. 4. The guy who tried to rob a convenience store using a watermelon as a mask. In Virginia, 2 men hollowed out watermelons, cut eye holes, and wore them as masks to rob a store. Security cameras captured everything. The melons did not hide their faces well. Police identified one suspect almost immediately, thanks to social media, where residents joked that it was the juiciest arrest of the year. The sheriff's office noted that the mask choice provided minimal tactical advantage. 5. The driver who lit a cigarette while filling gas at a gas station. In Florida, a man decided to light a cigarette while actively pumping gasoline. Surveillance footage shows other customers fleeing before the vapors ignited, causing a fireball that torched the pump. Firefighters controlled the blaze quickly, and the man survived with minor burns. When questioned, he said he'd done it before and nothing happened. Physics eventually disagreed. 6. The woman who tried to kill a cockroach with a shoe while driving. A Maryland woman panicked when she saw a cockroach crawl across her dashboard. Instead of pulling over, she attempted to swat it with a shoe while still driving. She lost control, hit a curb, and crashed into a utility pole. Police listed the cause as distracted by insect. No major injuries, but a power outage affected the neighborhood for hours. The roach survived. 7. The DIY plumber who used duct tape to seal a pressurized pipe. A Minnesota man attempted to fix a leaking copper pipe using only duct tape and prayer. The moment water pressure returned, the pipe burst, flooding his basement and destroying thousands of dollars worth of possessions. Firefighters were not needed, but insurance denied the claim because he had performed unlicensed plumbing repairs. Later interviews quoted him saying, "I underestimated water." 8. The guy who tried to defrost frozen meat on his car engine. A Utah man placed several pounds of frozen beef inside a plastic bag and set it on top of his car engine to defrost faster while he drove. The bag melted onto the engine block, leaking fat into the engine bay and causing smoke that looked like a fire. Police pulled him over. The engine was damaged. The beef was ruined. He admitted he thought it was efficient multitasking. 9. The man who climbed into a zoo enclosure to pet the leopard. A Florida man climbed over a barrier at a wildlife attraction, insisting he wanted to get closer for a good photo. The leopard mauled him instantly. He survived with severe scalp injuries. Police charged him with trespassing. The zoo noted that the barrier was labeled with multiple warnings. When asked what he was thinking, he told reporters, "I thought the leopard would sense I was calm." 10. The shopper who sprayed an entire store with fire extinguishers to kill a spider. In Michigan, a man spotted a spider near a clothing rack and panicked. Instead of stepping on it, he grabbed 2 fire extinguishers and unleashed them across the store, covering merchandise and triggering alarms. Damages exceeded $6,000. Police detained him for property destruction. The store banned him for life. The spider was never located. Random situations that turned into disasters. 11. The man who handed his car keys to a stranger, just to try it. In Illinois, a man was pumping gas when a stranger approached and complimented his car. The stranger asked, "Can I try sitting in it?" The owner, caught off guard and wanting to be polite, handed him the keys. The man got in, locked the doors, and drove away. Police later found the vehicle abandoned miles away. When reporters asked why he handed over the keys, he said, "He seemed nice." Officers noted this was the fastest trust fall in automotive history. 12. The boyfriend who tried to impress his girlfriend by jumping off the roof into a pool. A Texas teenager attempted a dramatic leap into a backyard pool during a party. He misjudged the distance and hit the concrete edge instead, breaking an ankle and damaging the pool tiles. His friends called 911. Firefighters arrived, shaking their heads. When asked what inspired the stunt, he said, "I saw it on TikTok, but the angle looked easier in the video." The video received thousands of views, but mostly comments questioning his geometry skills. 13. The guy who threw a lit firework into a store trash can. In Ohio, a man lit a firework outside a convenience store just to see what would happen, panicked, and tossed it into a trash can inside. The resulting explosion destroyed the bin and set off sprinklers. Damages reached several $1,000s. Police detained him, and he told them he thought the trash can would smother it. Firefighters gently explained that trash cans typically contain flammable things. 14. The man who tried to remove a wasp nest with his car. A Minnesota homeowner spotted a wasp nest attached to his mailbox. Instead of calling pest control, he tied a rope around the nest, attached the other end to his car bumper, and floored the gas pedal. The rope snapped, the nest erupted, and he was stung repeatedly while fleeing indoors. His bumper ripped off. The wasps survived. The local fire department logged the event as ill-advised home pest removal. 15. The guy who poured gasoline on snow to melt it faster. A man in New Jersey was frustrated that his driveway was still covered in ice after a storm. He poured a gallon of gasoline onto the snow and tried to ignite it. The blast burned his garage door and part of his lawn. Neighbors called police, who reported that the only thing that melted was his common sense. The snow remained mostly intact. 16. The woman who tried to clean her jewelry with bleach and ammonia. A woman in Arizona attempted to deep clean her wedding ring in the sink using bleach. It wasn't strong enough, so she added ammonia. The mixture produced chloramine gas, triggering coughing fits and a small evacuation of her apartment building. Firefighters arrived in hazmat gear. When asked why she mixed them, she said, "I thought stronger would be better." Her ring survived. Her neighbor's trust did not. 17. The man who used a space heater to dry his wet boots in an enclosed closet. In Michigan, a man placed his wet rubber boots in a closet, turned on a high-powered space heater, and shut the door to trap the heat. The boots melted. The heater ignited clothing nearby, and the fire spread through the apartment. No one was hurt, but the fire department noted the man had essentially built a homemade oven with personal belongings as fuel. His insurance claim was denied. 18. The hiker who followed Google Maps directly into a lake. In Washington state, a hiker used Google Maps walking directions at night. The app didn't account for an unlit lakefront drop-off. He walked straight into the water and had to be rescued by nearby campers. Police described the incident as blind faith in technology. The hiker admitted he didn't look up because he trusted the phone more than his own eyes. 19. The guy who tried to ride a shopping cart down a hill. In Colorado, a 20-year-old man attempted to ride a shopping cart down a steep hill for fun. The cart reached high speed, veered off course, and crashed into a ditch. He fractured his wrist. A friend recorded everything, and the footage made local news as a cautionary tale. When interviewed, the man said, "It looked smoother in my head." 20. The woman who tried to warm her car by setting a pan of fire inside it. In Wisconsin, a woman placed a metal pan full of burning charcoal inside her frozen car to warm it faster. Instead, smoke filled the vehicle, melting the dashboard and cracking the windshield. Firefighters said the car essentially became a small furnace. The woman later admitted she didn't expect the fire to need ventilation. The delusional confidence moments. 21. The man who jumped into a zoo pond to swim with the alligator. In Florida, a man climbed a railing and jumped into an alligator enclosure at a zoo, boasting to friends that he knew how to handle reptiles. The gator bit his arm immediately. Zoo staff rushed in and tranquilized the animal to free him. Police charged the man with trespassing and disturbing wildlife. When reporters asked why he thought this was a good idea, he said, "I've watched a lot of Animal Planet. I thought we had a connection." The gator disagreed. 22. The guy who tried to prove his car's bulletproof windows. At a backyard gathering in Texas, a man bragged that his car had bulletproof windows. To demonstrate, he asked a friend to throw a brick at the glass. The window shattered instantly. The brick dented the interior, and the airbags deployed. Neighbors called police after hearing the noise. The owner said he thought the car had some kind of special laminate. It did not. Insurance did not cover self-inflicted stupidity. 23. The amateur magician who tried a fire-breathing trick indoors. A Pennsylvania man attempted to impress party guests by performing a fire-breathing stunt he learned from a YouTube tutorial. He used the wrong fuel, highly flammable instead of slow burning, and ignited his beard, shirt, and part of the drapes. Firefighters arrived within minutes, noting that the man had zero training and maximum confidence. His only comment after treatment was, "It worked fine when I practiced in the mirror." 24. The hiker who climbed a cliff because it looked easy from below. In Arizona, a hiker decided to climb an unmarked cliff because the slope looked manageable. Halfway up, he realized the rock was loose, the incline vertical, and he couldn't move without falling. Rescue teams spent hours retrieving him. When asked why he attempted the climb, he said, "It didn't look that high." Helicopter footage later showed the cliff was over 200 feet tall. 25. The man who tried to stop a chainsaw with his boot. A Michigan man trimming trees attempted to stop a running chainsaw chain by pressing his boot against it, believing the rubber sole would block the teeth. The chainsaw sliced through the boot instantly, narrowly missing his toes. Paramedics treated minor cuts. When questioned, he said he'd seen loggers do something like that once. Investigators noted the difference. Professional loggers do it with the saw off. 26. The woman who believed ice was strong enough to hold her car. During winter in Minnesota, a woman attempted to drive her SUV across a frozen lake shortcut to avoid traffic. The ice cracked, the vehicle submerged partially, and she escaped through the window. Residents filmed the rescue as the SUV sank. When police asked why she thought the ice was safe, she said, "I saw a sedan do it last week." Officers determined the temperature had since risen over 10 degrees. 27. The guy who jumped off a boat because he thought he saw a dolphin. In Florida, a man leaped off a moving boat, claiming he saw a dolphin he wanted to high-five. It was not a dolphin. It was a manatee. He landed awkwardly, was injured, and was later fined for harassing protected wildlife. His explanation? "I thought it would be a magical moment." Authorities said it was illegal, dangerous, and profoundly uninformed. 28. The dude who tried to parkour off a balcony after one beer. A college student in Colorado attempted to run up a wall and backflip from a second-floor apartment balcony. The railing broke and he fell into a bush, suffering a sprained shoulder. Police responding to noise complaints found him still bragging that the form was nearly perfect. His friends agreed he had the confidence of a professional, but the skill level of a potato. 29. The man who believed he could outrun a police horse. In New Orleans, a drunk man at Mardi Gras taunted a mounted police officer, claiming he could outrun any horse alive. He sprinted down the street, got about 20 feet, and was overtaken in seconds. Officers arrested him for public intoxication. Witnesses said the man seemed genuinely shocked that a horse was faster than him. The arrest report dryly stated, "Suspect misjudged biological realities." 30. The guy who jumped into a frozen river to retrieve his hat. During winter in Wisconsin, a man's hat blew off into a partially frozen river. Instead of letting it go, he jumped in after it. The ice collapsed, the current pulled him under, and firefighters had to pull him out with ropes. He survived with hypothermia. When asked why he risked his life, he said, "It was my favorite hat." Rescue crews noted he could have bought 10 identical hats for the cost of the emergency operation. Chaos mode. Decisions that make no sense. 31. The man who turned himself in for a crime he didn't commit. In Kentucky, a man walked into a police station and confessed to robbing a convenience store. The problem? The robbery didn't happen. Security footage showed no crime occurred, and the store owner confirmed nothing was stolen. When police asked why he confessed, he said he thought he might have done it while sleepwalking. Officers ran a wellness check and eventually released him. The incident was logged as self-incrimination without evidence. 32. The woman who tried to destroy evidence by burning down her own apartment. In Ohio, a woman panicked when she thought police were coming to search her apartment for a small amount of drugs. Her solution? Burn down the evidence. She set her couch on fire, which spread rapidly, destroying the entire building and displacing multiple residents. Ironically, police were not investigating her at all. She faced arson, insurance fraud, and reckless endangerment charges. The evidence? Gone. The consequences? Much bigger. 33. The guy who called 911 because McDonald's messed up his order. In Florida, a man dialed 911 because his McDonald's order was missing a hash brown. When the dispatcher explained this wasn't an emergency, he hung up and called again, twice. Police arrived and arrested him for misuse of emergency services. When asked if he understood why, he said, "It's breakfast. It felt important." The officer later told reporters this was top-tier misplaced urgency. 34. The thief who left his full name and phone number at the crime scene. A man in Illinois robbed a cell phone store, stealing several devices. On his way out, he accidentally dropped a folder containing his resume with his name, address, work history, and references. Police arrested him within hours. When questioned, he claimed the folder must have fallen from his pocket and insisted the robbery was a momentary lapse in judgment. Officers agreed. Everything except the momentary part. 35. The burglar who logged into Facebook on the victim's computer. In Minnesota, a man broke into a home, stole valuables, then logged onto Facebook using the homeowner's computer and forgot to log out. The victim opened their laptop, saw an unfamiliar profile, and contacted police. The burglar was found at his listed address. When asked why he checked Facebook during a crime, he said, "I got bored." Police described it as the easiest arrest of the month. 36. The carjacker who couldn't drive stick shift. A man in California attempted to steal a manual transmission car, but failed because he didn't know how to operate the clutch. He stalled repeatedly in front of horrified witnesses before giving up and running away. Police found him hiding behind a dumpster. His defense? "Nobody told me it was a stick." Officers noted the giant gear shift was visible from several angles. 37. The man who stole gas using an open flame. In Kansas, a man tried to siphon gasoline using a plastic container. It was dark, so he lit a match to see what he was doing. The resulting explosion destroyed the car and burned the lawn. He survived with injuries. When asked why he used a match, he said, "I couldn't find my phone flashlight." Firefighters responded, "We recommend patience." 38. The guy who tried to escape police on a lawnmower. In Florida, deputies approached a man with outstanding warrants. He fled on a riding lawnmower, reaching a top speed of approximately 8 miles per hour. Officers walked beside him and ordered him to stop. He refused. They tased him gently and arrested him. The sheriff later joked, "We support environmentally friendly transportation, but this was not the time." 39. The woman who drove into wet concrete because she thought it was just a light color. Construction workers in California yelled for a woman to stop as she drove straight into freshly poured concrete. She ignored them, assuming the pale surface was decorative pavement. Her car sank several inches before stalling. Workers had to jack it out. Repair costs reached tens of thousands. She later told police she thought they were waving hello. 40. The man who tried to hide from police in a sea of pink flamingos. In Wisconsin, a man with outstanding warrants fled into a yard filled with plastic pink flamingo decorations. He lay perfectly still, assuming he would blend in. Officers spotted him immediately. When asked why he chose that hiding spot, he said, "From far away, I thought I matched." He did not. 41. The woman who let a stranger tattoo her at a party using a sewing needle. A woman in Ohio allowed an unlicensed stranger at a house party to give her a tattoo using a sewing needle and pen ink to save money. She developed a severe infection within days and required medical treatment. When police investigated the party after multiple complaints, the amateur tattoo artist claimed he had experience practicing on fruit. Officials confirmed he had none. 42. The man who posted his own crime on TikTok. A man in Arizona filmed himself stealing a street sign, uploaded it to TikTok, tagged his location, and captioned it, "Catch me if you can." Police caught him within a day. Officers thanked him for the helpful evidence and excellent camera angles. He later admitted he didn't expect the video to reach local authorities. It reached 2.4 million views. 43. The guy who tried to pay for his meal with a banknote he printed at home. A diner in Georgia attempted to pay his restaurant bill with a $50 bill he printed using an inkjet printer. The paper was the wrong size, the wrong color, and still warm. Staff stalled while calling police. When officers confronted him, he said, "I thought it would look more real by the time I got here." He was incorrect. 44. The teen who tried to escape police by hiding in a porta potty. In Michigan, a teenager fled from officers and climbed into a portable toilet, closing the door behind him. Police tipped the unit over to force him out. Blue chemical fluid covered him completely. He was arrested immediately. The sheriff later commented that the suspect chose the worst hiding spot in human history. 45. The man who spent stolen money on t-shirts that said, "I'm a thief." A man in Pennsylvania stole cash from his workplace and used part of it to buy custom t-shirts that read, "I'm not a thief, just kidding, I am." His co-workers reported him after seeing him wear one at lunch. Police recovered the stolen money and the shirts, which they photographed for evidence. His explanation? "I thought it would be funny." It was, for everyone but him. The confidence that broke the world. After 30 decisions, a pattern has emerged, one more bizarre and consistent than anyone expects. These people weren't sabotaging their lives on purpose. They weren't plotting disasters or looking for chaos. They were simply confident. Confident in shortcuts, confident in guesses, confident in instincts that had absolutely no relationship with physics, engineering, wildlife biology, or law enforcement reality. The man who trusted a stranger with his car keys. The homeowner who tied his mailbox to a sedan. The hiker who followed Google Maps directly into a lake. The driver who believed concrete just looked glossy. The man who jumped into a river because a hat wasn't worth losing. None of them paused. None of them questioned themselves. None of them thought, even for a split second, maybe this is a terrible idea. What makes these stories absurd isn't the scale of the decisions, it's the speed of them. The way a tiny impulse, a single thought, becomes a chain reaction that consumes property, burns kitchens, floods basements, summons firefighters, triggers evacuations, or invites police directly into the middle of someone's very preventable crisis. These cases prove a quiet truth. Human beings are never more dangerous than when they're sure of themselves. And yet, that's exactly why these stories resonate. Because everyone has had a moment where instinct overpowered logic, where a quick fix felt smarter than a slow solution, where confidence drowned out common sense. As we enter the final moments of this file, remember, disasters don't require villains. Sometimes they only require a person who thinks, "I've got this," right before reality says otherwise. The moment before the mistake. If there's a thread connecting these 45 catastrophes, it isn't stupidity, it isn't recklessness, it isn't even bad luck. It's the moment before the mistake, the quiet second where someone believes they understand the world just a little more than they actually do. A man uses a blowtorch because he thinks he understands fire. A teenager jumps from a roof because he thinks he understands height. A driver lights a cigarette at a gas pump because he thinks he understands sparks. A party magician spits fuel into a flame because he thinks he understands danger. A hiker walks into a lake because he thinks he understands maps. A burglar logs into Facebook because he thinks he understands time. A thief prints counterfeit money because he thinks he understands color. A fugitive hides in plastic flamingos because he thinks he understands camouflage. Every one of these decisions was made in a moment of pure confidence, tiny, effortless, and completely divorced from physics, logic, or common sense. The disaster came later, and when it arrived, it didn't tiptoe, it collided. What makes these stories compelling isn't the failure, it's the humanity behind it. Because confidence is the default setting of the human brain. We trust our instincts far more than they deserve. We assume our ideas are better than our experience, and our guesses smarter than the reality unfolding in front of us. We believe the world is predictable, manageable, soft around the edges. But the world is under no obligation to match the image we have of it. Fire doesn't care about improvisation. Gravity doesn't negotiate. Water doesn't forgive. Animals don't sense your intentions. Ice doesn't strengthen because you're in a hurry. Machines don't listen to optimism, and consequences don't wait for you to finish the thought. If anything, these cases reveal a deeper truth. Most disasters are not punishments, they're misunderstandings. Moments where someone simply guessed wrong, and reality corrected them abruptly. But here's the part these stories don't show. the millions of quiet, invisible moments where someone almost made a terrible choice, but paused just long enough to question it. We rarely celebrate those moments because nothing dramatic happens when a person chooses patience over impulse. This file wasn't about mocking the people who didn't pause. It's about reminding the rest of us that logic is fragile, instinct is unreliable, and every random moment carries the potential to flip into chaos if we're not paying attention. So as you step back into your own life, with its shortcuts, pressures, rushes, and temptations to improvise, remember the pattern you've seen here. Disaster rarely announces itself. It usually begins as a thought that feels clever, a shortcut that feels efficient, an idea that feels harmless, a confidence that feels earned, right up until the world proves otherwise. This has been The Absurdist Files, File 010, 45 dumbest decisions people have ever made in random situations. A tribute to the chaos we create, the logic we abandon, and the tiny decisions that rewrite everything.